Good morning and welcome to this part of the day. My name is Mike Holker. I'm the Chief of Service for Leaving People Better. And I want to take just a brief moment to share with you a little bit about our past, but more importantly, about the future of where we're going with Leaving People Better. So, starting in April of this year and going until April of 2021, we're going to invite you to embark on a journey with us to help families with protection, correction, and connection. And I'm going to summarize each of those here today. But real quick, if you notice there's a little delay in the video, I have to apologize in advance. We had a 5.7 on the Richter scale earthquake this morning, and here in Salt Lake County where I live, there's 55,000 people that were without electricity. So I think we have a little bit of lag in our video. But I want to share with you that this could not come at a better time in the United States. What we're about to do with Leaving People Better is truly going to help leave families better. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the past and a little bit about the future, but I want to let you know that I have never felt more peace and more comfort about the future than I do right now. And we would love for you to be a part of this journey with us. September 1st, 2018 is when I finished a project of writing a book after 5 years. I had no idea what I was doing. I've never done this before. But the month after, I went and poured my heart out to my Father in heaven because I didn't know what to do next. And his answer came very specifically that I needed to study the scriptures. Of all things, here I am trying to figure out our financial life. He tells me to go to the scriptures. And if we want to talk to God, we say a prayer. But if we want him to talk to us, we open his scriptures. And so my wife and family and I, we felt very impressed that we needed to study a very specific timeline, which was the 100 years leading up to Jesus Christ being born and his ministry of 33 years as well. So we did. And what's interesting is in one of the books that we studied, even though it has a 1,000-year timeline of its history, the 100 years leading up to it is roughly 42% of the entire book. And so it truly was written for our days. And what we found as we got towards the end of that study was there were so many similarities to what happened in their time to what's happening today in our time. And so I'll blow this up so you can see it. There's promises and blessings that have been given all the way from Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, all the way down to our day for those who live on the promised land. And I believe with all my heart that we are in the promised land here in the north, central, and southern part of America. And so what happens is we have these blessings and promises that are given to us. You have the land, and once we have the land, we're granted the ability to have children and posterity, and then we can multiply in our herds and our flocks and our businesses and our money with prosperity, and then we're blessed with the ability to have security. And what's interesting is when all throughout history, when Heavenly Father tries to turn the hearts of his children back to him, to humble them, to remind them, to shape up, he does it in reverse order. And so the first thing he starts with is our security. And if you look back on 9/11, it was the largest terrorist attack in the United States history. And if you fast forward 7 years, our prosperity was hit like no other when the stock market crashed, almost to the day. And then if you fast forward roughly another 7 years, you have our posterity in major jeopardy. In fact, there was a major colloquium over in Italy, Rome, with several leaders of several Christian faiths from all over the world. And Pope Francis opened the first session of the assembly, and this is what he said to start the assembly. Quote, "We now live in a culture of the temporary, in which more and more people are simply giving up on marriage as a public commitment. This revolution in manners and morals has often flown the flag of freedom, but in fact, it has brought spiritual and material devastation to countless human beings, especially the poorest and most vulnerable. It is always they who suffer most in this crisis. And so if you look back to 2014, 15, 16, the definition of family and what consists of family is really been left up to interpretation. And so you can see how things have really been strained on the family and how God's tried to remind us that we need to, our families are eternal. We can live with our families forever. And as long as we keep his commandments, we'll be able to do that. Well, the last thing would be the land. And so if shaking up the security doesn't work and messing with our financial crisis doesn't work and reminding us of our family duties and responsibilities, the last thing is to remove or to sweep them off of the land. And I've put some dates here. I'm actually going to be creating a second video that's going to be longer, but it's going to be very in-depth, and I'm going to break down what latter-day prophets have said, in addition to what the scriptures have said when Jesus was here after his birth, and share with you the correlations of how this has taken place before. And this isn't to be done out of fear. This is to be done out of faith, to know that this has happened before. History has repeated itself. And if we as a culture, if we as a society don't turn our hearts back to him, to family and to country, then he's probably going to do something with the land as well. And so our three-pronged approach for leaving people better over the next year is very simple. We are going to help people through protection, correction, and connection. And so with protection, we're going to practice becoming the best versions of ourselves. We're going to do that with the Leaving People Better process. So if you have the book, you know that we've created 10 fingertips for each finger on how to better ourselves and others within 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 weeks with a 5-year plan. And this is going to help us with our relationships, our habits, our purpose, our communication, our commitments. And what we want to do is we're creating a brand new YouTube channel that this is going to go on, but we're going to have one video a week for 50 weeks talking about these different fingertips and the action items. Because the goal is in April of next year, we're going to create a second edition with the compilation of everything that we've learned and put together as a community. We're going to update the fingertips. We're going to update the action items. We're going to translate it into several languages, and we want to get it out to the world come next year. And we're going to have a incredible release party with some musicians and bands, and we're going to have some pretty cool things to launch this come summer of 2021. So look out for that. So that is protection. Correction, we want to help keep our families safe. And the way we're going to do this is by empowering families to be self-reliant and financially free. In 2008, I was in financial services, and I sat at the table of just about 300 different families. And you know what I found? It didn't matter how much money people made, it mattered how much they spent. And sadly, over 80% of all the families I met with spent more than they made each month. And many of them weren't even aware of it until we did an analysis and broke it down for them. And so on Wednesdays of each week, we're going to have a video that we post. And the intent is to create a community where we can have self-reliance and financially free families, so that in April of 2021, 1 year later, our goal is as many of you want to participate with us, including ourselves, because we're not there yet, but we want to have 1 year's worth of income set aside in case of an emergency. That might be a disaster, that might be an earthquake, it might be a job loss, it might be a coronavirus, or it might be anything. But we want to help families to have a year's worth of income set aside from April to April. The other thing is with emergency essentials and necessities. So food, water, medicine, gasoline, provisions. We want to be able to say, you know what? We have a community of people that a year from now have these things set aside. There's no need to panic. There's no need to go out and try to get all this in a day. But if we could do this as a community together over the next year, we're going to have that sense of peace. We're going to have that sense of relief that we are prepared for anything that may happen. Okay, so that'll be on Wednesdays. Um, the videos for leaving people better, that we're going to do those on Sundays to kind of start the week off right. Connection is the last one. We want to unite families through service. And since July of this last year, I had the privilege of meeting an incredible family. I just absolutely have fallen in love with this family. Lance, unfortunately, has passed away. I never did get to meet him. I feel like he and I were brothers in another life. But Josette, all of their sons, their daughter, had the opportunity to meet with them. He wrote a book called The Message because he was in a coma for 6 weeks. And it talks about what happened when he was in his coma. And then from our side is his wife and children's experience. But then he also did a video or a CD series called They Saw Our Day. And it's his experience of him interviewing cultures from all over the world. And what's interesting is he said that he realized that we're all from the same family. And he said that it didn't matter if he was interviewing people from Tibet or Japan or the United States, various Native American tribes from all over the world. He said they all have a similar story. They all have similar prophecies that in the last days, families are at the center of society, and that parents would no longer have time for their children. Grandparents would no longer have time for their grandchildren. And as the family goes in society, so does the destruction of our country. And so we want to help by inviting you on Saturday. We understand that Saturdays can get busy. It's a time to do everything that you didn't get done during the week. But we're going to invite you, and we're going to participate as well in doing one thing for someone in your family on the first Saturday of each month. The second Saturday, someone in your neighborhood. Third Saturday, something for your community. The fourth Saturday, something for the country. And the fifth, when there is a fifth, serve someone in the world. Lance said that the mode of heaven is service. And if we implement this in our lives, it will do more for us and our families to turn our hearts back to God, family, and country. And I am so excited to go on this journey with you and your families with mine over the next 12 months. In closing, we're creating a new YouTube channel for Leaving People Better. We already have a small Instagram and Facebook, but we would encourage you to share this video with your friends and family. Help us to help you and your families and those that you love to do something great this next year, to think less of ourselves, to think more of others, to put ourselves in a better financial situation by being prepared and by helping our families to become more united. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I'm going to have a second video that really breaks down from prophets and the scriptures on how these 4 promises and blessings of land, prosperity, posterity, and security are applicable to our day today, and what we can do to be prepared and what we can do to be safe. Thank you.